Well, another look at debt and Christmas spending. Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, I've got an answer for you. Just go to prudentmoney.com. It is the resource for advice on financial questions, stewardship questions, whatever's on your mind. If you want a second opinion, happy to give it to you. There's a couple of ways to get information. The first one is just the email system, which is pretty easy, obviously, if you've got that kind of a question. If you have something that's a little bit more detailed and needs a little bit more than a simple email, then we can set up some time and discuss it over the phone, and it shouldn't take too long. But that's a couple of ways to get things done. There's never any obligation. There's no cost. It's part of what we do with the listening community and the readers of prudentmoney.com. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Yesterday, we started talking about Christmas spending and talked a little bit about what the debt situation looks like, some trends, because here's the thing is that if you can kind of get an idea of what things are going to be looking like, somewhat of an idea, you can plan better. You can see that, yes, there could be Black Friday's kind of hit and miss, but there might be a better situation this year. And we talked about that yesterday. And if you ever want to catch an old podcast of the radio show, it's always put out there, and you can go listen to it. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about the markets. It's interesting. The stock market has really been driven by interest rates going up, going down. It's been driven by, of course, the presidential elections, what might happen, what might not happen. And now it kind of finds itself without a big issue to worry about. Yeah, there's lots of things that spell out risk when it comes to the market. But the market is driven, good or bad, by big stories, by things that could either help profits or decrease profits. And that's really obviously a big scorecard when it comes to the market. Well, now this morning, I think that we find there are war is once again something that the market's going to have to focus on, what's going on in the Middle East. Just to back up a little bit in case you missed the story, because it was over the weekend, and I don't think a lot of people heard it. And, there's a lot of people who don't really particularly care one way or the other. The war between the Ukraine and Russia are obviously still going on. I have these discussions with Tony Joe, who comes to my program every Friday, does the Car Corner edition. We, believe it or not, we get into the deepest conversations about all kinds of things. And sometimes we get in debates about things. But we talked about, I called him and I said, does this strike you odd that President Biden would interject himself into this war by giving the Ukraine an okay if they wanted to fire the U.S. long-range missiles? Now, if you think about that, the implications that has, of course, Putin came out and with warnings about that better not happen. And of course, these long-range missiles are a much more effective way to destroy things than what they've got right now. But I got to thinking, you're literally 2 months or so away from a transfer of power. And most presidents don't do anything those last 2 months. If the office is going to change, they don't go and try to initiate new things. They definitely don't stick their heads in the middle of wars. Because what happens if there's some type of attack or something that happens in the last 2 months of a presidency and a transfer of power in January? I mean, it could be the biggest mess. And plus, you're the person who's going to replace you in the White House. That may not something that close to the transfer of powers may not be such a good thing. There's a lot of issues with it. We'll put it to you that way. Well, of course, the Ukraine uh, took Biden up on his offer and released the dogs. Shot these long range missiles into Russia, and of course, just unbelievable that because now that it's like poking a bear, a Russian bear. Keep poking them, and they're going to do something. So that right now has got the markets on edge a bit. There's a lot of scenarios you can play out in your mind, obviously, that could happen. But market always has something to worry about, and for sure, this war. I think it's kind of been one of those things where the markets are fine with a lot of things. They can operate independently of wars happening as long as it's not affecting anything in the U.S., and rarely does it affect anything in the U.S. And so, but now when you start getting into a situation like this, and possibly a situation that could drag us into conflict with any number of countries, it makes for a different situation in the markets. Now, something I want to explain real quick before we go on is that you've heard of the word volatility. You'll hear somebody on social media or on or financial news, news TV or anything like that, and they'll talk about volatility in the market, and that's when you have the market going straight up, straight down, lots. It's just volatile, and I think that is if someone asked me the other day what I thought about a Trump stock market the second time around. Well, I think the first time around it was pretty smooth and easy. I think the second time around it's going to be extremely volatile, and the volatility level is much higher than what we're used to, and that can be pretty dicey. So, but just know it. I think I definitely think that's an easy call to make, just because everything that he does there's a risk to it. He's not scared to take an action. He's not scared of, obviously, we know all this. So if there's a lot of change, there's a lot of division. I mean, there's just so many things that can happen in a Trump presidency. So get strapped in, because here we go, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. I also wanted to mention, before I went on with today's topic, new housing data. And my wife and I, Sherry, went out looking at homes and there's not that many of them, neighborhoods and communities that are being built, and new divisions being built, new homes, and that type of thing. And just it's interesting to watch and see how they're trying to cut costs, and how important cutting costs. I mean, it's really tough to get into to find a community today that is completely custom. I mean, they've all got floor plans, and they've all got they can the new home builder can sell, and then they've got packages. Beyond packages, you can't say, I like this backsplash from this package over here and moved over here. No, they go with the packages already laid out. It's just pretty interesting to see what's going on with that. And there's been a lot of building. Now it looks like that it's slowing down. Of course, you got to remember it's that time of year. In normal times, I wouldn't call it today normal times, but in normal times, where builders, real estate industry kind of slows down a bit between now and Christmas. It's so hard to believe it's November. Not even that. It's almost Thanksgiving, which is at the end of November. So we'll keep you posted on that, but that was down a little bit from the last 12 months. Yesterday, we started to take a look at trends with consumer debt and trying to get a kind of a lay of the land going into Christmas shopping season. Now, one of the things that we discovered yesterday, and it took me a little bit to see what the statistic was really trying to say. So after reading it numerous times, if you look at, we reviewed all the information from various sources, resources, surveys, and what it painted the picture of that consumers are in tough financial times right now, and that Christmas is going to be a financial burden, and that the order of the day is going to be wrapped in two things: cut back and buy less expensive, look for the best deals, probably more so than ever. And this was what I was talking about, the contrast in between people are in dire need, and then this one subject line that had said that this retail trade association had predicted that there would be record-breaking sales. But they specifically were speaking to Black Friday to Monday, Cyber Monday. And so I think more than ever, you're going to actually see that it pays off. Now, this is coming from somebody who's never stood in a line on a Black Friday and participated in that sales event. But I think that there's going to be some serious price savings that you can get by putting in the effort of going out and doing that. Hey, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. We're up against a break. Stick around, and I'll be right back. Hi, this is Bob Brooks. What is the single most important verse on stewardship? Well, you can find that verse in two books, word for word, Matthew 6:24 and Luke 16:13. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Wow, what a powerful statement. On the Prudent Money Radio Show, we talk stewardship and how to stay in a committed, surrendered stewardship relationship with God. Listen to the Prudent Money Radio Show weekdays at 3 p.m.
This is Rob Randall, your host and teacher of the Invisible War radio program. The Invisible War is the study of God's Word on how to walk in Christ's victory in the spiritual battles we face against the powers of darkness. Join me every Sunday morning at 9 right here on KDKR and KYJC in Commerce, your station for life.
Hi, I'm Jan Markell, host of Understanding the Times. We're very excited to be a part of Bible School Radio. I hope you will join me Saturday, 10 a.m. for cutting-edge guests and the latest information to help you discern the truth, even the inconvenient truth. We'll help you understand our times and contend for the faith. That's Understanding the Times, Saturday at 10 a.m. right here on Bible School Radio or anytime at olivetreeviews.org.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Today, if you've got a question for me, I want you to go to the website, and I know you got questions. Everybody's got questions. Go to the website, just send me a question. I'll get your question answered. If we can't do it in one email, we'll do it over the phone. There's my calendar. You can set up a time. And we'll clear that with you, saying that we can or maybe need to do a different time. But I am committed to doing this. We've been doing this for 22 years and answering questions, and no cost, no obligation, no fees, nothing like that. It's all about Prudent Money being there as a resource. I'd like for you to think that if you needed a resource, you could call and we would help you out. And like I said, there's never any cost, and there's definitely never any obligation. So just remember that's there for you. It's your resource, and I love getting your emails. I love hearing what's going on with you. So just make sure you take advantage of that. So I was talking about before the break that this Black Friday and the weekend, this first real major shopping event could be a big one loaded with savings. Just kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit. And the other thing that we want to take a look at is how the rest of the things to consider as far as spending money, getting cards, gift cards. Hopefully we'll get to that today and talk about that. But Wallet Hub put out an interesting survey that said, talking about debt, and this is something that is really, we've got to be focused in on at Christmas time, because this is the time that you can really put on quite a bit of debt, as you know. Debt is affecting our health. No surprise there. 48% of Americans think their household debt is affecting their health. Got this phone call from a frantic daughter who was dealing with a debt collector. Actually, her mother was dealing with a debt collector. I want to say she was 70, late 70 or early 80s. And the daughter came into her mother's house and found her laying on the ground, having an anxiety attack. I just, bless her heart, because she got off the phone with debt collectors who were horrible to her, who told her all these bad things that were going to happen and all that type of thing. So yes, debt can get completely overwhelming, and there comes a point where you got to be able to look at your options and decide, this is what we're going to do. These are the steps we're going to take to eliminate this debt once and for all. And now I'm not going to let this bother my health. I mean, it's just not worth it. Borrowers are struggling to keep up. 58% of Americans say they are struggling with their debt. I would suggest that 58% is pretty low. I would suggest it's a lot higher. This one makes no sense. Debt swayed voters. Nearly 3 in 5 Americans say their debt influenced how they voted in the recent election. So, because both candidates are going to spend a lot of money they don't have. And both candidates seem to, I don't know, we'll see. Doesn't say that means they were voted one way or another. Of course, at this point, it didn't really matter. Credit card debt is a common concern. Credit card debt is the type of debt Americans' households are struggling with the most. And I thought this was interesting. 51% of people say they're struggling with it. That's followed by debt from mortgages at 18% and student loans, 15%. I don't know that I can see the reality behind that one. But anyway, forecast calls for more death. Here's this. Now, this is interesting. Nearly 2 in 5 people expect their household debt to increase in the next 12 months. 2 in 5, almost half. And it goes along with what I think has been happening very quietly through the last 2 or 3 years, is that people are using or being forced to use credit cards as a means, or high interest debt as a means to finance living expenses. And that's not a good situation. Many people fear generational debt. 50% of people are worried about how their debt will affect their kids. It's one of those things where, and I'll give it to you this way, if you were to pass on and you left a lot of debt in your estate because your spouse had previously passed away before you did, then the debt is owed by the estate. Depending on how much debt is there, depends really on, I've always been under the impression that debt collectors don't necessarily spend a whole lot of time going after estates. I guess unless there was a ton of debt. But that it becomes a little bit of a challenge to know what to do. You don't want to distribute the estate to everybody who's a beneficiary of it. All the money's taken out and gone without eliminating the debts to some degree. Now, I would think that those debts are negotiable. That's the good thing about it. So, but anyway, I think there's a lot of bad information around death and debt, and there's also a lot of things that you can do to prevent it from being a real problem. Shoppers are expected to spend an average of $902 per person for the holidays on gifts, food, decorations, and other seasonal items. That's about $25 more than a person than last year. That's interesting because I remember a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, it was up over $1,000 per person. I thought that was high. As present, gift cards are a crowd pleaser. More than 1 out of every 2 people have gift cards on their holiday wish lists, and only 1 out of 100 gift card receivers reported not liking them. Okay, only 1 out of 100 gift card receivers reported not. So if you gave 100 gift cards away, by the way, if you gave me a gift card, I would not be unhappy about it. Love gift cards. Think gift cards are great. We're going to do a program probably tomorrow on gift cards and to give you some very interesting statistics that might make you decide, maybe I'm not going to do gift cards. Pause here for just a second. The funny thing about gift cards, it really fits into the culture that we've got in America, where we've gotten unoriginal about, is that a word? We've lost our originality. How about that? Lost our originality when it comes to gifts. We don't put any time into it. We just get gift cards. But the reality of it is, at least per this survey, 99% of the people you give gift cards to love them. Now, there's some responsibilities that go along with, and we'll talk about this tomorrow. There's some responsibilities that go along with gift cards. And that's one thing you got to be careful of. But there seem to be, at least that statistics, overwhelmingly almost 100% love them. When it comes to discretionary spending around the holidays, like like dining out and clothes shopping, 85% say they will be cutting back. 85%. So what that tells me, and that has told me in the past, and it's been accurate, is that the retailers know they've got to put things on discount and know if you're you're looking for the best deal. And so that's why I think that we saw this in 2001, right after 9/11, where President Bush at the time was literally out saying, go spend money, put money into the economy, and Christmas items were on sale. I mean, Christmas shopping was on sale. Let's see. To spend smart, 45% of consumers say they'll shop for you. I love this. Let me go back. To spend smart, 45% of consumers say they'll shop for used and resale products this season, compared to 38% last year. I absolutely love the whole idea, and you may not agree with this, but I love the idea of secondhand. You go buy a computer from somebody that's wanting to get rid of it, another wants to sell it, and you've negotiated a price, and most of the time, it's one of those situations where they're just trying to get rid of it, trying to make up some extra Christmas money. But you can buy things from others and gift them, and what a way to save money. And I don't know, I really never put any thought to it until I read this survey. But I thought that was a great idea for sure. Credit card sign-up bonuses of a holiday travel hack. 15% of holiday travelers this year say they applied for a credit card with a bonus to help foot the bill. That's not a bad idea. That's why I said yesterday that in order to take advantage of credit card benefits, you've got to be a transactional card user. That's it. Not a person who owes money to a credit card, because they can give you deals and benefits all day long, but if you're drowning in high interest credit card debt, and high interest is the key, it doesn't really matter. But if you're transactional, meaning that you've that you rack up a bunch of expenses, you pay them off, you never leave a balance. I believe you can really take advantage of a lot of these benefits, especially reward cards, which work out pretty well. So that is that. Now, tomorrow we're going to be talking about gift cards. We're going to be talking about how much breakfast prices have increased at some popular fast food chains since 2019. You might find that kind of interesting. Actually might not sit well with you. This is Bob Brooks. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at www.prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.